Okay, if you're watching this video, you are watching it because you are working on summarizing the poem, The Road Not Taken. What the directions are telling you to do is that first you need to go through and circle the subject of every line, underline every verb, and then box every object. Then when you finish doing that, you are going to work to summarize the poem itself. When we say summarize, I mean I want you to take each of these stanzas and write one sentence that summarizes the information that you get there. To help yourself stay organized though, what I want you to do right now is write summarize or summary at the very top of this column, and then draw a line between every stanza. And the reason you're doing this is, again, just so as you write your summaries, it'll be easy for you to know which summary goes with which stanza. And keep in mind that all day today you are working in this left column, okay? So I'm going to suggest that you pause the video and do that right now. But after you've done that, what you're going to be working on is just this first stanza. So you read through, and it reads, "Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveler long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth." And what you're going to be doing as you read this is the first thing I would suggest you do is look for all of your verbs. And again, a verb is an action, which means if you're trying to figure out if something is an action or not, if you can use the word to answer the question, what did you do, then it is probably an action. So for example, in the first lines, two roads diverged in a yellow wood. Diverged is your first verb. And even if you don't know what that means, the word diverge means split. So if I ask the question, what did you do? And you say, well, I split, you know that that makes sense. Where if I said, what did you do? And you say, I too, doesn't make sense. I roads, doesn't make sense. So now that you have diverged, you're going to keep going just to find all of the verbs in the stanza. And sorry, I could not travel both. All right? Could not travel is here. What did you do? I could not travel. And be one traveler long I stood. The word be in this case is similar to the word am. So what did you do? I was in class. I am in class. I had to be in class. All right? Long I stood. What did you do? I stood. And looked down one as far as I could. What did you do? I looked as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. What did you do? I bent. Okay? So these are all the verbs that we have. But now that you have verbs, every verb is going to be attached to a subject, because somebody or something does those verbs. So as we're looking at it, we're asking, all right, so if diverged means split, we just need to ask, well, what split? Oh, okay, the two roads split. So you're drawing a circle around two roads. Okay, then you come down and you say two roads split, and sorry, I could not travel both. Well, what or who could not travel? I could not travel. And be one traveler, long I stood. We're not going to worry about be right now, but long I stood. Who stood? I stood. And looked down one as far as I could. All right, and we're here. This is an interesting one, but the word and here is telling us that we need to look before the word and to figure out the subject of looked. All right, and you're asking, well, who looked? Long I stood and, but I stays the subject because it could read long I stood and I looked. Down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Who bent? It bent. Okay, so at this point, you could tell me all of the actions in the stanza, and you could tell me the things that take those actions. The last thing you need to be able to do is identify the objects of a sentence. What the objects of a sentence are they the nouns that receive actions. And not every sentence has an object, because sometimes there's nobody receives an action, but sometimes they do. And if you can identify them, it will help you to understand what you're reading. So right now we're looking at two roads diverged in a yellow wood. All right, two roads do something. What do? They split. And now you're saying, okay, well, how do they split or where do they split? Oh, they split in the woods. So just draw a box around woods to help you. And sorry, I could not travel both. I could not travel. Okay, but what could you not travel? Both. And right now you're probably asking, okay, well, what is both? But both in this case is we're still talking about the roads. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and I'm sorry, but I could not travel both roads. And B, one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could. So now I'm sitting here and we have I is both standing and looking, but if you're looking for the object, you're asking, what is he looking at? Or where is he standing? Look down one as far as I could. And again, it's this word one is our object. So now you ask yourself, okay, what is one in this case? And again, one is still these roads. All right, so now he's looking down a road as far as he can to where it bent in the undergrowth. What bent? It. Whew, but what is it? It is still the road. So the road bends. Well, where does the road bend? In the undergrowth, which makes the undergrowth our object. All right, so now that we've done this, we have to ask ourselves the question of, all right, what's happening in this stanza? And you just want, before you write anything, you want to talk yourself through. All right, okay, two roads diverged in a yellow wood means two roads split in the woods. I'm sorry, I could not travel both. So two roads split in a wood, but this guy can only take one of those roads. And be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could. Alright, so he can't take both roads, so he stands and he looks down one road as far as he possibly can to where it bent in the undergrowth. And I'll tell you that undergrowth is just like those small brushes that come up under the trees. So he's saying two roads were in the woods. I could only take one. So I looked down one as far as possible. Okay. And at this point, you have your entire stanza summarized. If you need time to write it down, I'm going to suggest you pause the video and make sure you get this written. But as I'm coming around, I'm going to be looking for you to have these notes on your page as well. This video is about to end. If you feel comfortable with what you're doing, you should continue on and do the same exact thing for the second, third, and fourth stanzas. But the second stanza is actually very, very tricky. So I'm going to suggest you watch the second video, which will explain to you how to do this with the second stanza as well.